Hello, welcome. Today I want to talk about something very important. It's subtle. It's very important. I'll begin by reading something to you from St. John of the Cross. St. John of the Cross said, talking about union with God, he said, "And the soul that has attained complete conformity and likeness of will is totally united and transformed in God supernaturally. Wherefore, as has been explained, the more completely a soul is wrapped up in the creatures and in its own abilities by habit and affection, the less preparation it has for such union. For it gives not God a complete opportunity to transform it supernaturally. The soul, then, needs only to strip itself of these natural dissimilarities and contrarieties so that God, who has communicated himself naturally to it according to the course of nature, may communicate himself to it supernaturally by means of grace." And it is this that St. John desired to explain when he said, and here he quotes it in Latin, Qui non ex sanguinibus neque ex voluntate carnis neque ex voluntate viri, sed ex Deo nati sunt. And so that in English is, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. Okay? So let's talk about that. It's very important. If I'm not mistaken, God instructed Abraham to make an altar out of rough stone so that it wasn't pretty, so that the hand of man wasn't involved in it. The hand of man. So everything must come from God. See, the soul which is reborn, everything comes from God. Things on the outside only bear witness to the Creator. So, for example, I'll just give you an example. When I read something like St. John of the Cross, or if I read a little something from the Bible, I don't read it to memorize it, to ingest huge amounts of it, or to have some goal of reading so and so many chapters a day, or anything like that. I just read it lightly, almost like opening it up to any page, and then I read a little bit, and then if something is sort of highlighted, I read and, oh, I see. The important thing is not what's printed on the paper. The important thing is the realization, which is internal. In other words, within. God testifies within, or God's light within quietly says yes. You see? It's the realization that's the important thing, not what's on the page. It only bears witness. Christ even said, of myself I can do nothing. I do what the Father has me to do, something like that. So of yourself you can do nothing. You can get up in the morning and meditate a little bit. That you can do. Okay? That's like a little commitment to wanting to know the truth. And then you go out about your activities as a plumber, an electrician, a mom, a dad, an accountant, a student, whatever it is. Go about your activities and just go about your life. And then as the day proceeds, if you have that desire, that intent of wanting to know the truth, then all of a sudden you'll have little realizations. You'll hear something And you'll understand it. Whereas before you never could. Now you, oh, I see. It's the Spirit that bears witness. See? That's the important thing. It's the internal, see? Bearing witness to, or the internal realization, the aha moment, the eureka moment. That's actually the Word made flesh. When quietly within, wordlessly, you know something without words. And you realize, you see how it becomes, and then when you act upon that the Word becomes flesh. It becomes a realization. It becomes thoughts. It becomes action. See? Now, anything that the hand, so in other words, how can I say this? It's the truth itself. That's the important thing. Truth with a capital T. Not who said it. Not the personality of who said it. No matter how lofty they may be. See? So the whole of creation bears witness to God. The birds, the blue sky, the clouds, the magnificence of the stars, mathematics, physics, chemistry. They all bear witness to the Creator, His genius, His providence, see, His thoughtfulness, His wisdom, His creativity, see, His mercy, His kindness, everything. The whole creation bears witness to the Creator. So when you look at the tree, the flower, and you admire the artist. Yes, the flower is beautiful. The tree is nice. But it reminds you of your Creator, who made the tree, who made the flower. It's like a painting. You go look at the painting and say, well, that's beautiful. See? Then you give homage to the painter, don't you? The painter made it. Christ, God made everything. So He created everything. He even created love. He created everything there is. Enjoyment, where you have your food and your tea or your vegetable, whatever it is that you have, and it tastes good. God created the idea of taste and tasting good. He's the author of it. So everything reminds you of God. And likewise, a book, words on a page, what someone says. It awakens you to realize something, and it's the realization is the thing. That's the thing. So that has to be with everything. Remember the verse, not born of blood or of the will of flesh or of the will of man, but of God. So everything has to be that way. Your realization comes from God. Your aha moment, your awe, your wonder at seeing the universe or mathematics. That awe and wonder, see, is somehow your soul senses that the creation testifies to the Creator. Everything comes from Him. Correct, self-correct. When you see your own error, you see that you're impatient, or you see that you're angry, or you see that you're a little bit phony, or whatever you see. You're seeing it in God's light. He began it. He's the one that gave you light. He's the one that's showing you. See? If someone points something out, they point out your fault. If that awakens you, be careful not to resent it. Okay? Don't resent them. Never mind what their intent was, whether it was good or bad. Just if they point it out, and then if you see that, yes, he's right, well, you say, well, thank you very much. It's the realization that's the important thing. That realization is from God. The other person merely pointed it out. It's not from them. The seeing of it is from God. You see what I mean? So it all begins with God. Can you see that? That's why, you can't make a decision to be right. All you can do is yearn to be right. That's what you can do. You can yearn with all of your heart. And see in God's light that you're not right. And wish to be right, and know in God's light that you don't even know how to become right, or what right is. Okay? And then you just sit there and you say, well, you see that you're wrong. You can't make yourself right. You don't want to be wrong. That is the opening, that St. John of the Cross was talking about. You can't look to other people for motivation. Trying to motivate people is the worst thing you can do. People who try to motivate their kids. Because if you succeed in motivating them, then they're beholden to you. They didn't realize it for themselves. They didn't realize it from God, from intuition, which God gives you. They saw it because you forced it on them, you pressured it on them, you motivated them. See? So that's why I've always said, and I heard this, it's not my idea, but it's well stated, that in the evening you say to your kids, okay, brush your teeth. Before you go to bed, brush your teeth. Then you have to remind them again the next night, don't forget to brush your teeth. And then the next night, you still have to remind them, don't forget to brush your teeth. Well, if you have to remind them 1,000 nights in a row, so be it. Until one day, they see for themselves the wisdom of brushing their teeth. And when they see it for themselves, then it's theirs. Then they're self-impelled, self-motivated. See, it's a realization. So what can people do for you? Nothing, other than maybe point something out. See? Basically, someone like St. John of the Cross that apparently really had the real thing, or Teresa of Avila, he had the real thing. She had the real thing, and all she's doing is bearing witness to the real thing, bearing witness to what you will see, to what you will experience when you are finally reborn. When God turns up the dimmer switch, turns up the light for you, and you begin on the path. See, then what they say you can appreciate. So you don't admire Teresa of Avila or St. John of the Cross. You don't look to them for answers. When you read something of theirs, maybe nothing clicks, but then sometime you might read a little something. Oh, and then you see it. They are only bearing witness to what you have experienced. Oh, I see. I see now, not born of flesh. I see it has to be from God. So what is it? What did Paul say to make every thought captive of Christ? See. So even your thoughts, if somebody puts them in your mind, some preacher, some movie, some video, some book, some expert, if someone puts the thought in your mind through cleverness, through pressure, through painting word pictures, however they do it, it's from them. It's not from God, so it's useless. It's useless, really. It's useless. It will do more harm than good, because it may block the real thing. It's better to know nothing and see that you know nothing. See? Than to have learned too much and then have it block the real thing. See? So there's not much. See, there's not much others can do, and when they try to do so, don't look to other people. Don't look to your minister, your rabbi, your priest, your teacher. Don't look to anyone. some expert, some writer. Talk to anyone but to God. Then if one of them happens to say something right, some of what they say is right and some isn't. You'll see it, but it's the internal testimony that's the important thing. I listen to some of because I like the topic. I like the topic of religion and spirituality, and I like it. And once in a while, they happen to say something that's right. Usually, they don't, but they may quote a scripture verse. They may quote Paul or Peter. Oh, beautiful. They may say something technically right, but I don't look to them as the expert. My intuition, the inner light from God says quietly yes. And then when they say something is not right, I see that it's not right in the inner light, you see. So everything must be born of God. Even the beginning of your salvation, your realizations, then the words that you put together. Everything begins with God and moves and is from God and to God. See? It's like the circle. The beginning and the end become one thing. God, Christ said, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Remember Christ in the Gospel of Thomas? They said, what will our end be? He says, what? You have the beginning and you're looking for the end? He said, for where your end will be, there will be your beginning. See? They had their beginning. God's light. They heard Christ, who testified, who bore witness to the Father, who bore witness to truth. And when they heard his words, they realized, yes. They began the journey. See? And it was begun by who? By God. Christ was his spokesman. And their internal realization was from God. Everything was from God and to God. See? It's very beautiful. Very beautiful. My name is Roland.